Imagine being so mighty. Ego, the guy I'm talking about today, imagine being so mighty that even powerful magic people like Wanda Maximoff Scarlet Witch have trouble with the raw power of Ego. Not only her, but her and her sorceress and mystical companions work together. They're all having problem with Ego, and they're getting overwhelmed by Ego's might. It was this occasion when Ego literally was merging with the earth itself. Even Wanda had issues. Oh boy, y'all ready? We see plenty of Marvel characters have the raw power to bust planets, but Ego, the living planet, is actually a literal planet that's sentient, like it's literally in his name, the living planet. So off rip, you kind of know this character is going to be strong just from the fact he's a literal planet that's actually alive. I mean, just think about the size of planets. Ego in particular, like, has an official size stated in the Marvel guidebooks and stuff, stating to have an actual diameter of 4,165 miles. New Marvel handbooks even say the same thing about his official diameter. If those numbers are correct, that would mean he's smaller than planets like Mars, but at the same time still larger than planets like Mercury, which means from sheer size, he's actually bigger than planetoids like the moon. So you can kind of get an idea already in the video just started on how strong he is just from his sheer size and just pure mass. But here's the thing, even though he's already humongous, as scary as it may seem, he's actually mightier than what his size would suggest. He's not only limited to moon leveling stuff. The same way Juggernaut is probably about 2,000 pounds or something, but we know he can lift way more than 2,000 pounds. He's stronger than what his size would suggest. Ego's already planetoid size, and he's stronger than what his size would suggest. Let's analyze him. Ego was born in this place known as the Black Galaxy. It's funny how old handbooks talk about how Ego isn't a character that had his consciousness fused with the planet, but in newer stuff, it kind of says the exact opposite of Ego when it comes to his origin. Yeah, it was explained here that long ago, there was this being, like one of the cosmic beings, of course, a mysterious cosmic being, was conducting an experiment. He caused our sun to go nova to reach out and consume the twin planets orbiting it. Scientific beings they was, Egros. He set up bunker, like Egros was his old self, basically, when he was kind of normalish. He set up bunkers to project world cores to try to save us all. But I wasn't being selfish or noble. I only wanted to live. He died. My people died. His people died. He became them and every living thing, every rock, tree, and blade of glass. He became the world. I swear cosmic beings be so bored sometimes that they literally create living sentient planets. Ego being the result of this testing by this being known as the Stranger. You're probably thinking Ego the living planet isn't that strong, because how can you be strong if you can't even throw a punch? When you look at him, you don't see no arms or limbs, right? That's what you're thinking, right? But here's the thing. You know how in real life, us humans, we have like a body. Our body does stuff without us consciously doing it. We don't have to think about our digestive system to digest stuff. It just does it automatically. Ego has more control over his entire planetoid than we do our whole body, because it's stated in his lore, he has complete control over his entire mass down to the molecular level, something we can't even do. Comics even hints at it visually. I mean, we're talking about a guy that can make the ground swallow you. It can reshape its substance into tentacles. So yeah, he can make limbs, by the way. Yeah, he literally can create a fist out of his body to hit beings physically. Create humanoid bodies, one could argue avatars, antibody minions, and reshape itself to assume the appearance of other worlds. Ego's surface contains breathable environment, which can also be controlled, including the manipulation of weather. Yes, he has weather manipulation on his own planet, generating tremors and creating non-sentient plant and animal life. Ego can consume the energies of beings it traps within his body. Ego can also generate blasts of cosmic energy and communicate using telepathy. He's a psionic being. Galactus thruster was attached to his south pole. Ego learned how to control its flight. Since losing the thruster, Ego has somehow mastered to travel at warp speed under his own power. He can move his giant planet-sized body at warp speed. Imagine that. And look at his power grid. I pretty much already hinted at this, but yeah, he's one of the most versatile characters. He can regenerate. He can sense beings even if they make themselves invisible. Yeah, he has enhanced senses, cosmic awareness, one could say. He's a full-blown energy projector, so yeah, he has blast power. Literally narrated that he has psychic power. He can make his pieces of his planetary body into actual limbs, but he can actually make tentacles of pure energy, solidified energy. You could say he's one of those characters that gets stronger as time goes by or evolves. They even say the terms building and evolving. I mean, his freaking hair absorbs cosmic rays and solar energy. If you're an energy projector and just try to shoot blasts at him, he could just straight up absorb it. No wonder Galactus and Ego keep having interactions with each other in comics. They're very similar when it comes to quote unquote eating planets. This energy absorption could be part of the reason why he might have some inconsistency, struggling with certain stuff he shouldn't based on the tier he's in. There's some comments he could be at full power, not at full power, based on the energy he's got in him at that time, because they emphasize the fact full strength implying he might not always be at his full strength, which could be part of the reason why he might struggle with characters he shouldn't. Ego can actually be a creator. He can create stuff out of his own molecules or matter that are actually living. He literally said, Thor, I'm gonna use you as a blueprint. I'm gonna make a molecular model to create an endless army of bioversal creatures. He can easily create a psychological interchange, enabling him to create a humanoid form of life out of an antibody organism. Yeah, he can create his own minions. You can destroy one minion, he can just continually make it more in a heartbeat. Like, his physiology is so crazy. You can like literally break off a piece of Ego, and then you can take the piece of Ego to another planet and then kind of evolve another planet better because of Ego. And it can mutate other beings into like monsters and crap. Like, you can visually see it happen here because of Ego. Ego can actually blast with electromagnetic energy. Ego, the living ice planet, he can put a whole bunch of cold around himself to nullify characters' blasts, turn his entire planetary surface to ice, and absorb your cosmic fireballs. You can almost say he has heat manipulation or fire manipulation because the thing even feels the effects, and the thing is basically invulnerable. We literally see him use lava. I mean, the core of his being can burn hot enough to reduce most living things to atoms. In this occasion, it looks like he's producing electricity, can make his own force fields, or you could say telekinesis, like he literally just straight up grabs Silver Surfer, and he says it feels like some kind of force field. He has the power to seal off his bioverse from each and any known universe. If you're one of those people that don't want to actually talk face to face with the actual planet, he can like make himself smaller to talk to you face to face to suit your needs better. You can argue he can make smaller avatars of himself, kind of like you saw in the movie, how he had a humanoid size form and his true planet size form. In this case, he kind of does it, but he kind of does like some spirit mode type of talking. He can make an avatar form of himself to make his hair attack you. If by some miracle you are a threat, he has ways of retreating. Like, he can literally make an avatar or consciousness of himself and then send it away. A being whose arm had suffered a fatal poisonous bite, Ego amputated the infection that would kill him because he was actually threatened in this particular situation. I would like to say that even though these are technically Ego, these are technically avatars or pieces of his power, so they're not as hard to beat as the real Ego, but it still takes the Powerhouses some effort, which makes the real Ego look more impressive, if we're being honest. Reading your mind. Rule number 1, never try to possess psionic type being. They have a crazy resistance to like possession and telepathy or mind control kind of stuff. Like, imagine trying to possess Ego like the World Mind did, and he ended up reverse possessing it. When you was planning to possess him, he possessed you instead, corrupting you and countering you. Basically, Ego became World Mind, became Ego. That was one heck of a counter. He can do stuff similarly to what happened in the Ant-Man movie and make ants ridiculously strong to even give Asgardians issues. Like, he amped up the ants this much. Despite their size being this big, they shouldn't be able to fight Asgardians, so let you know he amped them up. Yeah, he made them larger too. Yep. You're probably thinking, oh, Ego's too mighty or too versatile to fight directly. Let's find his kryptonite. Let's find his weak point. Let's go to his core and destroy him from the inside out, right? Let's just say his core has a force field. Ego will literally just make a decoy brain so you can go after the wrong thing. Without wasting no time, we know he's ridiculously large, so off gate he should be ridiculously strong enough to destroy buildings with his tentacles. Obviously, right, he can destroy buildings. His blast power can destroy smaller spaceships, or his tentacles can. Like, yeah, he can give himself limbs. He can selectively extend his own gravity to gather floating debris to hurl it at armadas, aka making space his weapon. Are you really shocked he can level cities? Matter of fact, Ego's simply using sonar. Like, he's literally just scanning, like trying to search, and he's like crumbling the city. Like, not even trying to attack it, just searching. I mean, he's literally bigger than continents, and it's proven he can lift them because he can literally throw debris or rocks the size of continents at Thanos and the Black Order's fleet, the size of small continents. It doesn't matter. Continents are astronomically large. Even if we assume they're talking about the smallest continent on our real life planet Earth, if we assume they're talking about rocks being big as Australia, he can just casually toss several cities with ease and countries at you. Yeah. When you consider Ego himself as an actual planet, him launching debris like this, it kind of makes sense. Or he could just do this to your fleet. Matter of fact, he has so much raw blast power via energy projection. He can blast, lay waste with an unimaginable energy blast, crack the crust of a planet, devastating and shaking the planet. We've seen Ego pull up to moon-sized planetary structures and just splatter them. I mean, when we're talking about planetoids around him, he can literally blast them apart and shatter them. Oh, and you knew this was going to happen. He's a literal planet that can shatter actual planets, full planets, with his blast power. You're probably thinking this is obvious. Well, think about it. Us humans, we're strong for our size, but you can't one shot and shatter a human with one hit. You know what I mean? You can knock out a human with one hit, but shattering a human with one hit is different. Him being able to shatter a planet, even though he's the size of a planet, is still impressive. This would prove, like I teased earlier in this video, that he is stronger than his size would suggest. You're probably thinking, well, Ego should just fight somebody his own size. Well, he did. He actually boxed it out with another living planet. They both can shoot energy blasts. He actually shattered another living planet with his blast power. Yes, he can pull up to planets and utilize his ability to produce seismic waves of catastrophic force to reduce the planet and its doomed inhabitants to space dust. Yeah, he can take just like what he can dish out. Like, you can literally sling planetoids at him, and his body can tank this kind of damage, even if you spam it. We've literally seen him getting bitten by other literal living planets. I mean, Ego's been hit by literal large behind comets. Another thing that proves that he's stronger than what his size would suggest, you know how in real life our stomachs can only hold a certain amount of food, even though we're human size, we can't eat a human-sized amount of stuff. Well, in Ego's case, he can eat stuff that's bigger than himself, you could say. More implications of proving that he's stronger than what his size would suggest. He can eat literal stars, which you can argue this kind of proves that he can literally destroy stuff way bigger than the biggest planets in our solar system, even suns. He's ate and consumed dozens of stars. He was going to eventually consume the entire galaxy. Despite Ego being nowhere near the size of the sun, even smaller than some of the larger planets down here, you can see the size comparison, comparing the sun to the largest planets in our solar system. That doesn't change the fact he can literally consume dozens of stars. You could argue destroy all of these planets down here and prove he can consume stars. And I kind of mentioned this earlier about how he can kind of get stronger via absorption. Kind of reminded me of Galactus a little bit. He was literally going to become worse than just a planet. He was going to consume so much that, based on Reed Richards, he was going to actually become the galaxy itself. So instead of him being Ego the living planet, he would have been Ego the living galaxy, like getting as large or becoming the galaxy itself. You could be skeptical. You're probably thinking, oh, just because he can consume stars doesn't mean he can necessarily blast them apart or hit that hard or similar to forces of exploding stars. Well, I would disagree. I definitely think he can destroy stars just by punching it or blasting it. Well, Ego can literally knock out freaking beings like the Silver Surfer guys. Do I need to remind you all the stuff this guy has withstood? We've literally seen Silver Surfer surf on exploding supernovas, and he doesn't get knocked out from this kind of stuff, but yet Ego can still knock him out. Yeah, he can hit harder than supernova explosions. It's like too many moments of him overpowering characters like Silver Surfer. So yeah, he can absolutely hit harder than star explosions. Despite him being smaller than the size of Earth as a planet, he can hit leaps and bounds harder than what his size would suggest. Because this situation proves it based on Silver Surfer and the stuff he's withstood and stayed conscious from. He can literally cause major earthquakes and destruction on Earth just from entering our solar system. The kind of attacks that he has to withstand, he's getting hit by stuff with the raw power of 1,000 suns and crap, and still not turning into dust. For those new to this kind of stuff, Ego being able to become the actual galaxy might seem over the top and it might seem like BS. Well, when you think about the beings he's consistently fighting, this sounds like just another day in the life. Honestly, Ego is constantly making creatures, which is basically him, his minions that are weaker than him. He's making stuff that can kind of give Hercules and Thor certain issues. Like when he's in his avatar mode, he's literally fart and box Thor. Like when he's in his humanoid form with arms and limbs he can make for himself. We've seen his blast wear down and damage Thor quite a bit. And when you see him doing this to Hercules and Thor level beings, that stuff about him being as big as a galaxy eventually over time eating stuff makes a lot more sense when you know that these characters like Thor and Hercules have done crazy stuff like Thor level beings hitting each other, being in the epicenter of it, can release stuff that makes shockwaves throughout the universe or impact similar to the Big Bang and stuff. Thor level beings can do this kind of stuff. Hercules can literally hit so hard he can shake the universe. And when it comes to Hercules and Thor, like they've always been matches when it comes to raw muscle, durability, everything, blah, blah, blah. Like giving these guys issues is not no easy feat, considering Hercules can literally hold the universe or heavens for 3 hours. You know, when he was relieving Atlas of his duty, you know, the classic myth feat Atlas and the Greek deities have to do. Like it's a classic Greek lore type thing. The thing that Atlas had to do was support infinitely massive weights. Hercules had to do the same thing for 3 hours. So when you see him do stuff like this is a myth feat, lore feat. You can't call it an outlier. when you see him do stuff like this, and then when he has statements of him saying he could shake the universe, it starts to not sound like an exaggeration when you know he does myth feats similar to that. Him being able to shake the universe is definitely believable. That's basically why Ego doing this to these tier beings, Hercules or Thor, is ridiculously impressive. He's basically boxing up with beings that can produce Big Bang-like force or to shake the literal universe type stuff. Yeah, these little small germs compared to his size are this strong, and he's fighting them. Remember that time Thor blasted Ego and he said his lightning was like a prick and poke? Thor literally says he can hit harder than a prick and poke. He says if he does his God Blast, it would do a lot worse, but it would only hinder him. So when you see stuff like Thor hitting him hard enough to shake the literal universe, these are not exaggerations, guys. And this is the type of stuff Ego has to withstand being hit by Thor. And this didn't even knock him out. Thor hitting him this hard. Multiple times Thor hitting him and he stays conscious. He just gets like stunned or staggered. Other Thor level beings like Beta Ray Bill, yeah, they literally had a fight weaponless, removed all enchantments from the combatants, all powers of storm and lightning, tempest and thunder. Thor even talks about how he still possesses his ridiculous strength because that's his birthright. I'm showing this on purpose to prove other Thor level beings like Beta Ray Bill, these two literally stalemate. And then there was this other situation, another occasion of Beta Ray Bill and Thor fighting. Thor even lets you know, as the watchers of this fight, that he's never been so evenly matched. You know, of course, this is base Thor, not King Thor or nothing, but I'm just letting you know the Thor level being like Beta Ray Bill or in his level. And just to show the Thor level stuff is consistent, he literally ate an attack from Beta Ray Bill, somebody that's Thor-centric. See what I mean? Somebody that Thor says they're evenly matched. And this is what Ego can do to Thor level beings, like kind of trap them and they can't move. Just a friendly reminder that Thor level beings hit hard enough to where their hits are compared to big bangs and crap and simultaneously erupt across all planes of reality and stuff. They can hit hard enough to where their hits can be felt in different universes and crap. And this is the type of beings that Ego's overpowering. Overpowering big bang tier being. People that can punch hard enough to where their hits are shaking cosmoses or universes. As cocky as Thor is, the fact that he admitted that Ego is mightier than himself, that lets you know that it's more than likely true. He even goes as far as saying how many universes might he just as easily destroy. He even made a stone avatar of Thanos to fight Thanos. Yo, Ego. Gotta have a sense of humor to have Thanos fight Thanos. We see Ego restrain Thanos and the other Black Order members, consume Thanos and the Black Order. Yeah, this dude consumed Thanos. Yo, he knew he was beaten? That's crazy. Remember, Thanos has clashed with all father level beings. There's even times where he doesn't even flinch from all father tier beings like Odin. There's even times where Odin had to put in effort to blast Thanos and still didn't knock Thanos out. So this gives you a perspective on how strong and durable Thanos is. All father tier beings like Odin can produce blasts fighting other sky father tiers that cause massive shockwaves which ripples across every plane of reality and stuff. Like weird, like crazy, unmeasurable type feats. Now you see why Ego doing this to Thanos is crazy? Apparently Ego faced Odin off screen, an all-father tier being. See, him and Galactus got a rocky relationship. I mean, since he's literally a planet and Galactus consumes planets, of course they would cross paths, right? Ego's different than other planets. Other planets don't fight back with fists. Ego does. I mean, during their fights and stuff, Galactus has his opinion about Ego, and he talks about how Ego's power is incalculable. There was even points where Galactus himself said he was powerless against Ego the Living Planet, even though Galactus's power fluctuates up and down. So there's definitely context to it, because Galactus can get ridiculously powerful depending on how he's fed and stuff. Galactus literally said, because Ego was countering Galactus's attacks and stuff, Galactus literally said he's surpassed my own when it comes to power. Galactus compared himself to a dust mote compared to Ego the Living Planet. You know you crazy powerful when Thor and Hercules have issues with him. Galactus himself, Thor stated, neither I, anyone else have enough power to destroy the living planet, not even Galactus. And keep in mind, all these powerhouses are in the same spot. They're talking about Hercules here too. And like everybody here, they can't do that with Ego, even though Hercules can lift the heavens. Yeah, him and Galactus are always interacting. And in more later stuff, they even got like a bond with like Lightbringer Galactus, and it kind of amped up Ego. Like in this particular situation, he got, you could say, powered up more than normal than he usually would be, to the point where like he literally grew. Instead of being just a giant head, he literally got limbs. Everything must grow, more mass, more power, more than I was. He calls himself Ego Prime. Ego in the past was already battling Galactus a lot. He got amped up. Like we literally see him crush this aspirant being. Like I'm talking about conceptual level type beings, like beings that are higher dimensional type stuff. And he can crush these kind of beings. You know you're a beast when Galactus takes his mask off that we never ever see him take off. Sometimes we even forget he has human-like features. But anyway, when Galactus says somebody can kill him anytime they wish, you gotta be a beast. See, Ego doing this to these deaf Celestials is crazy. You know, Celestials in general are just ridiculously powerful, higher dimensional type beings. You know how the universes are? Like, there's a whole bunch of different versions of our favorite characters, like a whole bunch of different Spider-Man. The way Celestials work, they're higher dimensional beings. They're the same, simultaneously existing across all the multiverse simultaneously. Like, they're different, higher dimensional, above infinite, you could say. Like, these are the kind of beings that can crush everything on a conceptual level. Higher dimensional, multiversal beings that can threaten the multiverse, he's crushing like this. Let me get off this Ego. And Speed, you know, he can hang with the top tiers, you know, being's way faster than light. He's competing with Galactus, so he can't be slow. You know, they even talk about his speed. Silver Surfer can't just get away from him. As fast as Silver Surfer is, he can't just leave him in the dust. His beams can catch up with Silver Surfer and grab him. So imagine being planet-sized and can fight so many times faster than the speed of light, I can't even put a number on it. That's Ego for you. Not to mention, he has to have ridiculous super senses because these beings like Silver Surfer can move this fast. As big as Ego is, he can still see him clearly despite the size difference. He's literally planet-sized. You do me a favor and try to watch and imagine an ant running away from you at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Your eyes wouldn't be able to keep track of that kind of speed when they're that small. Let's not talk about when he was possessed by Dormammu and literally became like a giant planet flaming Dormammu being fused. Like, yo, that's scary. Dormammu's somebody that kind of took on multiversal eternity, like the literal multiverse itself. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Stated he could have conquered the multiverse and melt all of creation into a pool of cosmic slag and then mold it together again. So honestly, like this, he probably is like one of the strongest beings in the whole multiverse, honestly. Like being possessed by Dormammu and crap. But what do you guys think about Ego, the living planet? Did you guys have any idea Ego was this mighty? Not bad for a character that has less than 100 comic book appearances. Yeah, he only has less than 100 comic book appearances and he has this many feats. Yeah. Like, share, subscribe for me, guys, and hit the notification bell. Did you enjoy yourself? What did you learn new? Did you know Ego was this crazy? Thanks for the donations, everybody. Respect them. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button and I will see you guys later.